Hey guys, it's Rich from Rich Me Gaming. Hope everybody is doing fantastically well. Now, as you guys know, I don't normally release videos on a weekend, but it was a special weekend this weekend. So I've broken down the mini extravaganza in another video that I've done with Quinn. You'll see that available tomorrow afternoon at some point, but I wanted to do a separate video for the upcoming rule changes that were outlined by the guys on the panel yesterday afternoon, because they're really important. They do change the meta, or I think they will change the meta of the game quite considerably. There's going to be some affiliations that are harder hit than others, Black Order in particular, but overall I am much happier with these new rule sets. And there's really four parts of the rules that we're going to go through. So first of all then is tactics cards, and I think this is one of the areas where most players have struggled, and really because of the number of tactics cards that are available, you often struggle to fit those particularly character specific cards into your roster. Well, with the announcement from Pagani and Schick and the rest of those guys that they're going to be focusing far more on individual character rather than unaffiliated can be used by anybody tactics cards, they are also upping the number of roster slots from 8 to 10. Now, nothing is affected when you make your actual squad. We're still going to be limited to the 5, but I really believe that those 2 extra slots are going to allow for a lot more thematic cards and a lot more character-centric cards to be played. So I'm a huge fan of this. Really like that one. So secondly then is I want to talk about the crisis card selection process. Now, we still have 3 of each crisis cards in our rosters. That hasn't changed. And the process up until picking the crisis is almost identical. So we roll for priority as normal. The winner of the priority gets to choose either extracts or secures, but rather than discarding one and then choosing from 2, the extract or secures that you choose are going to be completely at random. So quite often players will have 1 or 2 extracts or secures that they really want to play, and then a third one that makes up their roster, where it's going to be completely random moving forward. Once again, I am a big fan of this. I know that in competitive play, people like to reduce the amount of how random things are and like as much control as possible, but you still get to choose the 3, so you're going to be playing one of the 6 crisis cards that you have chosen. It's just it's going to be at random. Big fan of it. I really like it, and I think it's going to make for some much more compelling games, and rather than all these built-in turn 1 shenanigans, people are going to have to think a lot more about how they build their rosters and the characters that they're going to take. So huge fan of that one as well. Thirdly then is Infinity Gems, and this is going to affect me personally as a player, as I do run a Brotherhood with Thanos and actually 3 gems list. And in the past, your Infinity Gems would have taken up a character slot. Now, the good news is they are no longer taking up one of your 10 character slots. So you need to have 10 actual characters in your roster. So how do Infinity Gems work? Well, you can take as many Infinity Gems as you want, but they are going to be pre-assigned to your characters. So let's take Thanos as an example. In my Brotherhood list, I was taking Thanos with the Time, Reality and Mind Gem. Now, first of all, that's no longer going to be possible because Thanos can only carry up to 2 gems. So I could, for example, choose to take the Time and Reality Gem, which is typically how I play Thanos at 9 threat. However, that 9 threat is now baked in. They are attached to Thanos, and I have to play him as the 9-point Thanos with the Reality and with the Time Gem. Similarly with characters like Corvus Glaive, if you're going to take the Reality Gem with Corvus, which we would always recommend you do anyway, he is now baked into that card, and you have to take it with him. So the big impact here is going to be for Black Order players, because they need to choose which cards they want to take beforehand, and they need to always play at that threat level. So it does become restrictive in one sense. However, reopening back up that 3, maybe even 4 character card slots that you were using for gems means that I think we're going to see a lot more dual affiliation play with the Black Order because it's simply going to be so much easier. It does mean, however, that if you've got Corvus and Proxima and you've taken the Reality Gem and it's attached to Corvus, you do not have an option to play the Reality Gem and attach it to Thanos because it's not attached to him as a character. Some other limitations around it is you can only have one of each gem in your roster. So you can't take a Thanos with a Reality Gem and then a Corvus with a Reality Gem, for example. And once again, as I said, they are pre-assigned and you have to take that character with the actual gem itself. This one, time will tell. I think they've given with one hand by freeing up those slots, but they've most definitely taken away. But as we all know, Black Order were absolutely stomping it on the competitive scene. And I think that restriction around the Infinity Gems will bring them back down within that bell curve that they spoke about quite a lot. So time will tell, but overall, I'm relatively happy with it, even though it affects me as a Brotherhood player. So the fourth big change is who we can take in our rosters. Now, we've just had spoiled the new Hulkbuster who comes with the alias Tony Stark. So if we wanted to run the Hulkbuster in our Avengers list, it means that we cannot take Tony Stark Iron Man from the core box because they share the same alias. Well, that rule now no longer exists. So you can take as many Peter Parkers, as many Tony Starks, and as many Natasha Romanovs as you want in your roster, but you're still going to be limited to only being able to have one character of each alias name in your final squad. One thing that's also worth pointing out here with multiple aliases of the same characters is you can still only have one of each character in your squad. Now, why is that important? Well, with the restrictions we just spoke about with the Infinity Gems, that doesn't mean that you can run 4 different Thanoses all running a different myriad of gems. So that's not possible. You can take multiple characters with the same alias, but you can still only take one of each character in your roster. Once again, another change that I'm really happy with. I think we're going to see a lot more core Spider-Man play with this now. I think we're also going to see a lot more Tony Stark played from the core box or core box Iron Man because of that new Helios laser bombardment. Being able to get that for 3 threat in your squad now is going to be super, super efficient. There are some other changes, guys. The other big one is character changes. Characters that we know and love are going to have some erratas made to their cards. Those cards are going to be available, I think, by the end of the year, they said. So far, we've had 4, so it's MODOK Shuri, Captain Steve Rogers, and the Hulk. Huge fan of the changes. Hulk is amazing. We're going to go through that in the video with Quinn, so I won't go into it now. So yeah, that is it, guys. They are the rules changes that are coming up. They're not in place now. However, I would always recommend speaking to your TO or speaking to your opponent even, because it may be worth trying some of these new rules out before they get implemented by the end of the year. Guys, that's all it is for today. Remember to hit the guys up at Elysian Wargaming, and also look down in the description below. There's a link to another video that talks about my brand new sponsorship, and it talks about how you can win a brand new Hulkbuster. So head down below, click on that video, and you'll find the details there. As always, it leaves me with just enough time to say stay well, keep safe, and until next time, bye for now.